You've got to appreciate the internet. Nowadays, if you need to find more information about something, chances are somebody has already uploaded it somewhere. Can you imagine how hard it was to get valuable information just a few decades ago? So much so that certain animals existing at that time weren't readily known to the rest of the world, and would be considered cryptids or mythological animals, despite locals knowing about their existence for hundreds of years. Today we're going to be talking about a few animals that we all thought were mythical but turned out to be completely real. Ending this list with a kraken is so predictable, so I figured I'd start this list off with him. Want to find out what number 1 is? Well, you'd better stay tuned. With all that said and done, let's begin, shall we? Our first entry is, of course, as I said, the kraken. Usually a list like this would end with the kraken, the legendary sea monster that was reported to sink whole ships when it wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. But honestly, almost all of us know what animal sparked the legend of the kraken, that being the giant squid. The giant squid is the largest invertebrate in the world, but despite that, we know next to nothing about it. The largest of these elusive giants ever found measured 59 feet in length and weighed nearly a ton. We know so little about these giant creatures because they prefer non-contact with humans, perfectly content in staying in the deep ocean where they are known to reside. They do, however, venture into shallow waters every now and then. This might be the basis of ancient sailors' tales about the kraken, but almost everything scientists know about them is from carcasses that have washed up on beaches or been hauled in by fishermen. Giant squid, along with their cousin, the colossal squid, have the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, measuring some 10 inches in diameter. These massive organs allow them to detect objects in the lightless depths where most other animals would see nothing. Like other squid species, they have 8 arms and 2 longer feeding tentacles that help them bring food to their beak-like mouths. Their diet likely consists of fish, shrimp, and other squid, and some suggest they might even attack and eat small whales. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it really works. Our next entry is the duck-billed platypus. The duck-billed platypus is one of those animal oddities that if you didn't see it for yourself, you probably didn't believe it was real. At least during the pre-internet age when people like P.T. Barnum regularly faked unbelievable animals to make you part with your hard-earned money. In fact, the platypus looked so weird that at the time, a few preserved specimens actually did rounds in the carnival and freak show circuit. The platypus is only found in eastern Australia in small rivers and streams within the states of Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania. To locals, they are common animals that didn't deserve a second look. 2 European settlers, though, to say that it was a curiosity was a gross understatement. They have a paddle-shaped tail like a beaver, a sleek furry body like an otter, and a flat bill and webbed feet like a duck. When descriptions, drawings, and even live specimens of platypus were first taken back to Europe for study by British scientists, many believed the animal was a hoax, a beaver's body sewn together with a duck's bill as some sort of joke. During the time of its initial discovery, the scientific world was moving through a new, exciting age of discovery and debate. Biologists in Europe were close to developing a classification system for animals, and theories on how those animals came to be were brewing. The platypus with its flexible beak and venomous spurs was a crowbar in the gearwork of known science, causing debates that would not be resolved for over 90 years. Aside from looking like a taxidermist's idea of a prank, the platypus is really a remarkable animal. Platypuses are among the few venomous mammals. Males have a spur on the back of their hind feet that is connected to a venom-secreting gland. More venom is secreted during mating season, leading researchers to think that the spurs and venom help males compete for mates. At least according to the Australian Platypus Conservatory. The venom is not life-threatening to humans, but it can cause severe swelling and excruciating pain. A typical platypus is 15 inches from its head to the end of its rump. Its tail adds an additional 5 inches to the animal's length. An individual weighs about 3 pounds, though platypuses that live in colder climates are bigger than those living in warmer areas, once again according to the Australian Platypus Conservatory. Scientists have found fossils that suggest that ancient platypuses were twice as large as the modern variety, at 3.3 feet long. Our next entry is the okapi. Deep amid the tropical swamps of the Ituri Forest live some of the few remaining wild populations of the mysterious okapi. This gentle herbivore is the giraffe's closest modern relative. It was only discovered by scientists less than a decade before the 1909 launch of the Congo expedition. Even to this very day, the life history and daily habits of the animal aren't that understood. But in the first decade of the century, the okapi occupied an almost unicorn-like place in the popular imagination. With a tongue long enough to lick its own eyes, hind flanks striped like those of a zebra, and hearing so finely honed that it could sense and elude approaching hunters with extraordinary skill, the okapi epitomized the Congo's biological wonders. Native Africans had probably been tracking and hunting okapi for thousands of years, but it was not until 1890 that the American explorer and writer Henry Morton Stanley sent the first reports about the animal to the Western world. These early accounts suggested that the okapi was some kind of African donkey that fed on leaves. In 1901, explorer and colonial administrator Sir Harry Johnston, the High Commissioner of Uganda, took on the search for okapi in the hope of adding a new member to the roster of mammals, perhaps the highest accomplishment for a naturalist. Johnston was able to get a few pieces of an okapi's striped hide from natives, and he sent the skins to the British Museum, where London scientists prematurely announced the discovery of a new species of zebra. In search of a complete specimen, Johnston organized an expedition into the Ituri forest, assisted by a company of pygmies. At one point, when he came upon some okapi tracks and found them to be cloven, he thought the animal must be some kind of forest antelope. But when he finally got a complete skeleton and some skin, it was immediately clear that it was far from being a horse or an antelope as expected. And we all know now that its nearest relative is the giraffe. Now it's time for the day's best pick. Today we're going to be looking at a photo submitted to us by a subscriber, and it shows a really weird mythical looking creature. Kind of like a cross between a very hairy horse and an antelope of some kind. Could such a creature even exist? Well, let's find out next with our next entry, the mythical horse antelope thing. So majestic. Now today's best pick was, to put it mildly, took me forever to research on, and what I did come up with, well, not much. There are similar images online, all of them saying that this photo is part of an artist's collection of miniature sculptures depicting a variety of made-up animals. So, in conclusion, it's real, just not a real animal. But that doesn't mean that there isn't any mythical antelope-like animals out there. In Cambodia, for instance, there is the legend of the gilled antelope or gilled deer. It was believed to have possessed the remarkable capability to breathe underwater through the use of gill sets along its muzzle. Eventually, however, the creature was determined to be the saola, discovered in 1992. While the creature was discovered to be in fact real, it did not possess gills of any sort. These gills turned out to be a case of mistaken identity instead. The real species, the saola, has a large set of maxillary glands or sinuses situated just in front of its eyes. The external portion of the gland forms a rectangular depression along the upper muzzle approximately 3.5 inches in length. Covering this depression is a muscular flap which can be raised to expose the gland. Scientists believe that these glands are used to mark territories and attract potential mates. And although they do look like antelope, they actually aren't. DNA tests show that they are more closely related to cows than any kind of antelope. Local villagers have reported that the saola browses on leafy plants, fig leaves, and stems along rivers and animal trails. They are also mostly solitary animals, although it has been seen in groups of 2 to 3 and rarely in groups of 6 or 7. It is possible that they are territorial, marking their territory from their premaxillary gland. Alternatively, they may have a relatively large home range that allows them to move between areas in response to seasonal changes, which is actually weird considering they aren't regularly seen at all. And now it's time for our final entry, the Komodo dragon. Komodo dragons have roamed the island of Komodo in Indonesia for millions of years, so much so that in fact the locals have learned to live in relative peace among them. In fact, a local legend explained that the first of the dragons was born to a human called the Dragon Princess, along with a twin brother. The story goes that when the brother grew to adulthood, he chanced upon his twin sister while hunting in the forest. Not knowing that it was his sister, he tried to spear it when he was prevented from doing it by the spirit of his mother. From that time on, it is said that the people of Komodo never hunted the dragons, even going so far as feeding elderly dragons who could not hunt for themselves. Pretty cool story, but the existence of these large lizards, the largest lizards currently inhabiting the Earth, won't be relegated to stories and myths for Westerners for long. In 1910, Lieutenant Jacques Karel Henry van Steen van Hensbroek was stationed on Flores Island in eastern Indonesia with the Dutch colonial administration, when he received word of a land crocodile of unusually large size living on the nearby island of Komodo. Intrigued, he then set out to Komodo to investigate for himself. He returned with a photo and the skin of the animal, which he then sent to Peter Owens, then director of the Java Zoological Museum and Botanical Gardens in Bletensburg, now Bogor. The animal was not a crocodile of any sort, but a large monitor lizard. Owens realized that this animal was new to science and published the first formal description of the animal, which we now know as Komodo dragon Varanus komodensis. Although fossils of giant lizards have been known since the mid-1800s, the discovery that giant lizards were still among us, albeit on a few isolated islands in faraway Southeast Asia, was met with fascination and excitement. Zoologists set to collect more specimens, some of which were even brought back to Europe alive, and various aspects of their biology were studied. The discovery is even said to have been the inspiration behind the movie King Kong. Today, the island of Komodo is a prime tourist destination, known for having great beaches and beautiful dive spots. But no visit to this small island of Indonesia will be complete without a visit to the only Komodo dragon sanctuary in the world, as well as come face to face with this creature of legend. Do you think that other mythical creatures will be proven real within our lifetime? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want to watch more videos about amazing animals, mythical or otherwise? Click on any of the videos you see on your screen. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.